constantly like an irony, waiting for me to make a move on you. I'm trying to catch my future lady. The things I would do, the things I would do. I'm trying to mix things up. Maybe we can feel my call, yeah. For the both of us, said it's for the both of us, yeah. Feeling on the booty, yeah. It's soft and it's moving, yeah. I wanna step beside you and wanna put this thing constantly on you, like an irony, waiting for me to make.
Welcome back to Spotlight Entertainment Network, guys. I am your host, millionaire trader Alex Jenkins. I have another one for you guys. This one's going to be an intriguing one because it's covering black women, but it's been covered by a black guy, bourgeois black man, Stanford degree, one of these intelligent brothers that use their degrees for all the wrong reasons. But I'm going to let the video explain itself or be self-explanatory. All right? So let's really get to that, man.
I want to start an uncomfortable conversation. How's this for an icebreaker? Black women should not be held hostage to the failings of black men. They should marry outside of their race. This, according to Stanford law professor Ralph Richard Banks, black women should not marry down. They should marry out. This comes from a new book he has authored called Is Marriage for White People? And Professor...
This guy is really trying to polarize and send a shock in the system with this title. Is marriage for white people? How the African-American marriage decline affects everyone. This guy.
Banks joins us on The Filter. Rick, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
The premise at the beginning, why black women are so unlikely to marry. Why is that?
Well, black women are unlikely to marry in part because black men are faring so poorly. As we speak, 1 in 10 black men in their 20s or early 30s are in prison across the country. 1 in 4 will go to prison. At the other end of the spectrum, nearly twice as many black women as men graduate from college. This leaves black women with very few partners.
So basically, you're pointing out that black women face the thinnest pool of same-race partners in the country. But I'm sure there would be a number of black men that would argue that point.
Well, a number of black men have argued that point. And in fact, one of the things I wanted to do with my book is to try to get to the bottom of this. And again, based on national data, the best available information, it simply is the case that black women are outpacing black men along a number of dimensions. Educationally, professionally, lots of black men are quite simply not able to be the type of partners that women want.
Are you saying the only way for a black woman to get married is to marry someone who is not black?
Well, that's not the only way. I am saying that if more black women married across racial lines, that would be good for them because more women would have stable and enduring relationships. They'd have better relationships, in fact, than they might have with the black men who are available. And they would also benefit the black race because more African-American couples would likely wed as well.
Are you suggesting that black men can never overcome the obstacles which you have pointed out?
Well, I'm saying many black men do. So there are lots of black men who are doing just fine. But it's also the case, and this is a national tragedy, I think, that black men are in many ways the most disadvantaged group of people in our society. In terms of incarceration, in terms of unemployment, in terms of marginality along all sorts of dimensions, black men in the aggregate are not faring well.
This book has caused a great deal of conversation. Joining us from the Los Angeles Urban League is Chris Strudwick Turner and the creator and executive producer of the TL show, Keita Williams. Keita, I'm going to start with you. You're single, correct?
Absolutely.
Is the professor right in his assumption?
Well, I ride the fence on that. I would say this. I'm an established, African American woman. I'm not married. So there has been a lot of struggle being in the realm that I am. I think the higher up you climb, there are a lot of professional women like myself. A lot of my friends aren't married, professional. There's nothing wrong. They have good credit. Everything's great.
Are they not married because they can't find someone who's African American to marry?
I think they're not married because it's difficult. We have a lot more competition, if you will, that has kind of made us feel as if we have to, as he said, step outside of the box is not our option that I'm looking for. You kind of date down, which is nothing wrong with dating a man who may not be on the same financial status as you. I just think a lot of African-American women would prefer to marry a man that resembles them. I personally would.
Chris, you're married to an African-American man.
I am married to an African-American man. I've been married for 31 years.
All right. Do you think you made a mistake? Because according to the professor, you did.
No, I don't think I made a mistake. Okay, from my perspective right now, you marry out of love. That's what you marry for. It's not about economic status, and it's not about, ultimately those are things you have to think about, but you marry for love. I mean, marriage is hard, and sustained marriage is hard. So if you don't start from a base of love, you're in trouble, whether you're black, blue, purple, or whatever.
When you got married, did you think there's no way I can marry an African-American man because that's not going to work for me? That's not going to be enough for me. If I make that decision, according to the professor, you're marrying down.
I understand. And that's the stretch for me. I'm an intelligent woman. That's what he says. I'm an intelligent woman. I've got multiple degrees. I'm financially stable. I can make a choice about a relationship. If I decide I want to marry down, which I hated that, marry down, it's a choice that you make. If I'm making $150,000 and I fall in love with a man that's making $35,000, we think about that ahead of time and we do it.
But Keita, would you do that? Would you make $150,000 and marry a man who's making $35,000?
It depends on if he has, and I say this to say, it depends on what his true potential is. I think money, to me, comes and goes. I think the standards that we've got to look at is the quality of the man. There are a lot of women that I know who are out there doing very well, and with the economy, some of us have made 150 and had to take cuts. We're making 75. As she said, I went to a predominantly Caucasian school. I went to the University of Kentucky, so my dating pool was very limited. We had a lot of athletes that looked like me, that had the same upbringing, but a lot of them were dating women that didn't look like me. So for me, my pretty felt as if it wasn't pretty enough.
Marrying outside your race is not a formula for success in a marriage. I mean, my friends who are combos, which I call them combos, they have the same issues that we have black on black. I mean, their joys, their happiness, their challenges, their whatever. It's absolutely the same. And with the economy, the economy can wreak havoc on a marriage. Whether you start, with a disparity or whether you start equal and then something happens. I mean, bad money problems can kill a marriage.
But I think it's this too. I think it's this too. I'm at the prime of my life. You want to get married, you want to have a baby, you want to live happily ever after. You want to have that combo, as you said, whether it's black on black. The problem I have is when you exclude. My problem is this. If you're going to love and love is going to be colorblind, don't exclude what looks like you. If you feel like you're falling in love with someone who's black and blue and one eyeball, that's fine with me. But I'm not going to just try something new because you tell me that my black man's not enough.
But I also want to say that, the professor said that, if you marry outside your race, black women have a better chance of having a stable, enduring relationship and a better marriage. I don't know where that's coming from. Mm-hmm. Whether you married in your race, outside your race,
problems come in all shapes.
Goodness comes in all shapes and sizes and colors and whatever.
That's right.
So that leap that he took with that, I'm not quite sure where that came from. I'll give him credit. We are talking about it.
Yep.
The book is selling, and that's excellent. And it's a good conversation to have. But that is a real stretch.
Ladies, time is very short, so I'll ask you each.
Yes.
Give me like 10, 15 seconds, and then we got to go.
Mm-hmm.
If I had made the assertions the professor did, people would consider me racist.
Absolutely.
They absolutely would. That being said, is the professor racist?
No, I don't think so. And I'm not sure in this day and time that you would have been thought of as racist. You might have been thought of, oh no, here goes another, outlandish idea about, black folks. I'm not sure because he did the research. This book took 10 years to write. He's a smart man. He's Stanford. He's Harvard. If you had the same credentials, I'm not sure it would be, they would say it was racist. Definitely ill-advised, but that's what I'm saying about him. Ill-advised.
Keita?
I honestly think if you had written the book, you would have had a lot of backlash, but it would have been great PR for your book. It would have been. I think the title of his book is what got our attention. If this was called Black Love and why a lot of our African-American women aren't in the marriage game, we wouldn't be talking about it. The title of the book brings a lot of people to the conversation that we're having now.
I'll thank both of you. Chris, Keita, thank you for being here. Truly appreciate it.
I should have really focused on trying to marry well, couple well, because but that's what it really comes down to. That's what it comes down to. Why? And you see the question. That's a perfect lead in. That mindset, that confrontational, antagonistic, bad faith kind of thing that is so present in so many women today is why so many are chronically single. Once you cross 40, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. The numbers for women, first-time marriages over the age 40, the numbers for first-time marriages for women over the age 40 are atrocious. And then the numbers are even worse for women over 40 that hold an associate's or bachelor's degree or higher. So, why? 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 Because, like anything else, human nature. I mean, this part isn't your fault, ladies. The older you get, and more you get stuck in your ways, you're settled. You don't want to change. You are trying to get somebody to work with. But let's be honest, man. At that age, you've already likely bought a house and then other properties. You have a second or third car. You've traveled. There's nothing really new. Now, what I will say is that there are women. So there's two groups of women. There's the women over here who just forget it. I resigned it to that fact. And then there's the women who are danger zone, 27 to 35, who are saying, "All right, screw this. I know I want to get married, and I'm gonna put the kind of work, effort, and focus into it." Like one of the emails I got today from a woman who says, "Thank you for actually making me not feel crazy for focusing on these things." But what about women who are 35 plus? 35 plus. The women who actually are 35 plus who probably actually do have 35 plus, you've been in your career path for at least 10 years. Was it worth it? That so many of these women claim to care about women's outcomes. Well, if you care about women's outcomes, when are you going to stop lying to them? When are you going to stop lying and stop saying that the problem is not that there are not enough fish? The problem is you're not the right bait. The problem is you focused on your career. You focused on your career. You focused on dealing with the wrong dudes, the wrong guys in your youth. You did not prioritize marriage in your youth because you wanted to live a different kind of life. You wanted to eat sushi and travel and this and that. And cool, you wanted to do all that. And then you wanted to turn around at 30 years old or at 35 years old with your frozen ass eggs and everything else. And you wanted to turn to the market and you wanted to pick an investment banker. You wanted an investment banker to be there, still pining for you like he did back in college when you were the shit. You wanted to date whoever you dated, do whatever you did, and then you wanted to turn her back around to the market on your terms, on your time frame, and get the kind of man you thought you deserved, and then have that man get on your program. Disney can't make this stuff up. And I'm tired of you women still lying to these ladies, and you're a bunch of liars because you know better. I've listened to a lot of these women I've talked to these women. And it's funny, we can sit down and talk one-on-one, and then I can listen to how the more the women talk to women, the more they're starting to recognize the market is diluted. Women are deluded, but the bottom line is they will not tell women the truth. Why? Because if they tell women the truth, they won't have a business anymore. Why? I find it interesting. So many women say that women need to stop going over there and listening to Kevin Samuels. No, you need to stop listening to these old chicks. These old women ain't got nothing for you. And I'll tell you, and I'll prove it to you. What men of value are following them? All they got over there is more women listening to other women high five women. The men you got over there are guys co-signing, yeah, you're right, that's right, But then these very men that are co-signing this stuff aren't the men that you want to get with. Why is this important? Because until you start getting some truth and start realizing the problem ain't the men, the problem is not the men, the problem is you. The problem is you. The problem is you. The problem is you. What is it worth it? Is your career or degree worth it? And what it means is it worth being alone? That's what it comes down to. Is your career or your degree worth being alone? Because yes, you can date. You can hot girl summer. You can have situationships. You can be you can be 12 times shout out to Minister Jab. You can be 12 times a fiance. Some of you women, hold the records for being engaged but never married. But is it worth being alone? Is it worth dying alone? Because 1 in 4 women in our community will get married. 1 in 4, that's the number. And the older you get, the more degree, the more money you make, the less likely it is that you will ever walk down the aisle. Is it worth dying alone?
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. So y'all seen I put Kevin Samuels towards the end. They kind of combat and give you 2 sides of that equation. But the first gentleman was saying that the same narrative that they used to have before about black men. He reinforcing the negative image on black men. But that's what the bourgeois brother always will do, because he's from that era and he always tried to shit on other black men to make himself look better, to make himself look smarter. But the issue is, like Kevin was saying in his statements, it ain't just black men, because there's plenty of other black men that are free and that are doing well in these times. About at least 60% of men are childless and making above average salaries per year or wages per year annually. So we know that stigma isn't true, and generally we're doing just a hair better than our counterparts, which is black women. In the education front, women are going to school more. We know that. And there's nothing against that. It's nothing against, women going to get the education and better their lives while they're single or while they're trying to improve themselves and improve their financial conditions and their living conditions. It's nothing against that, but it's about connecting. And this guy was really trying to disconnect us. He's being disingenuous and he's married to a black woman. Why is it so strong of a narrative to keep us separated? Why they're pushing that so hard? We're one of the oldest beings on this earth. We've been here for a very, very long time. And now we want to disconnect. Well, over here in the Western world, want to disconnect? Come on, that don't make sense. Why people keep pushing this narrative? That's why I put Kevin in the back end. Like, hey, if you don't become an easier to deal with woman and start prioritizing relationships while going to school, while getting your education, while growing as a person, you can grow with someone. That's been going on for thousands of years, centuries. So why should that change in the last 60 years? Because it's a selfish move, and they're ending up alone because of it. At what cost? I've seen this within my community and some of my neighbors, that I see a lot of older women that are living alone. You know, I'm not saying they're not enjoying themselves or enjoying their lives, but at some point they do get lonely in their room when it's time to lay down and go to bed. They do want companionship. I've seen it. It's just they're not willing to give up that authority. They don't want to do that. And then when the career educated woman, like the woman in the video before Kevin Samuels, that's a married woman, she understood it. She went through the normal process. And she's living and understanding what marriage is. And she's doing it. And still doing it successfully. But the other woman was a modern woman from Gen X. She'd been taught by Gen Xers. To, hey, go get that career and pursue that career really hard and get financially stable and then go for a husband. But guess how many years it took her to do that? She had to do 4 to 6 years of college and then get 10 years within her career to finally be successful. And by that time, she's closing in on 40 or she's right at 40. And now she's going to come to the sexual marketplace and look for a husband. And during that time period, she ran across some good men. What she wanted to do, she wanted to do what she wanted to do. She didn't want duties to a man or having value in a man during the time period when she was most beautiful and most impressionable. She chose otherwise. And now she knows she has to compete with younger women. And guess what? It's just the same mantras. They want to marry at or above where they are. That's the hypergamous mindset that I speak of. It's crazy what's going on within our society. And we got another guy that's trying to be a separatist and keep us divided, want to keep a divider right between us, a wedge right between us. We got to remove that wedge, people. And when we do remove that wedge, let's conversate and be genuine within the conversation. Don't come in with that disingenuous, negative bias, what Kevin spoke of earlier. Come to the table and have a seat at the table and be ready to be open ears, willing to listen, and then be able to respond to whatever statements within the conversation. And once we get that conversation over and done with, it's time to move forward. The conversation will be over and it's time for action. Put together the plan and then put it into works. That's the name of the game. Right now, I'm having this conversation, but at the same time, people need to be on the ground putting in work. And initially, I will get there as far as boots on the ground and getting out here in the world and really shaking hands and talking with you folks, not just digitally. I will come in real life, but that's something that we have to work on as a unit, as a group. We come up with a coalition and a cooperative at some point within this next 2 to 3 years. That's got to happen. Whether it's this year, next year, or the year after, it's got to happen so we can start moving this thing forward. Now, I know some of you ladies do not like Kevin Samuels, and some people love Kevin Samuels. So, it's a back and forth type of situation. But the fact of the matter is, excluding Kevin, God rest his soul, that we come up with the solutions and start being proactive. That's the whole point. But that's my little spiel, guys. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Make sure y'all get down in the comment section and let me know what's going on. I know this was a lengthy conversation to be had, but sometimes these conversations got to be had whether they're lengthy or not. Let's get in here and have this conversation and come up with solutions within the comment section. And make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and like this video as well. But we about to get up out of here, y'all. Peace.